is everybody tonight?
Good evening. So tonight's topic is going to be on obesogens. I don't know where everybody is tonight. There's a few people that said they're not able to come, but some I haven't heard from. So I'm not sure. Let's see if there's any. We got rid of the passcode thing, so we don't have that as a problem anymore. Thank God. The automatic record. Now, is it recording? I just want to make sure because it was supposed to be recording last
Top left, I think it says yes.
It's clicking.
Recording. Okay, so we're good. So this topic is super cool because it's like we're learning other things about managing our weight. And it's like, to me, I think super cool because sometimes we think it's all about what we eat and how much we move, right? And we're going to now introduce a whole other component of it. However, I really am going to encourage us not to go nuts because I'm going to share some stuff with you tonight. And then I'm going to share some stuff with you in the next couple of days that are going to be like some handouts about some of the stuff we spoke of. And you're going to see, doesn't mean that you can't have these things, but we just want to start to be more mindful. Like, a Gore-Tex jacket, right? Like if you want to go hiking and you have a jacket to, it's made with these forever chemicals, but at the same time, you want to be able to be dry if you're on vacation. So I just want you to be mindful when we can choose something that's a bit healthier, like a glass container versus a plastic one. Why not choose that kind of thing? You could use, use different options, but we'll talk about that. Let me get us set up here.
And what is the definition of
obesogens are basically they're hormone disruptors, the endocrine system that causes weight gain or difficulty losing weight.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Great.
That's what I'm hearing about. Everything I'm eating wrong.
Yeah, so feel free, today's topic, I think it's definitely a lot about education, but feel free to stop, ask questions, and make it more interactive. Plus, there's only 3 of us here tonight. Let me just get this over. What's this? Share obesogen. Oh, wait, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, give me 1 second. I pushed the wrong button. Okay. So basically, we're just going to talk about obesogens and everyday toxins. Next meeting is actually next week, making peace with food. We're still in our Love Your Body challenge, and I just want to talk about, for a couple of moments, the first 2 weeks, everybody's done so well. Our leaders on steps is Debbie, Hope, great job, Hope, amazing, Lisa Taylor, Chris, and Anna. And then as far as weight loss, it's Lisa Price. She's down 5.5 pounds. So that's amazing. Let's see what else I have here. Keeping track. And the fiber, let's just take a moment of that one. That one's a challenging one, right? To figure that out. Does anybody?
I feel like the only way you can do it is if you have a shake. I mean, I'll be real.
It's true. Sometimes, or some sort of a fiber powder.
Exactly. And a shake and you got it nailed. But otherwise, it's like scrounging.
It's true. It takes a lot.
You have to just have stuff at every meal. At every meal, you have to be focused on it.
Yeah,
I don't eat my omelets as much anymore. Now that I'm really focused on the fiber, because I realized my omelets, even though I put veggies in them, it wasn't that much.
But is that the right choice?
Sometimes.
I'm just asking,
right now, in the challenge, I'm really looking
is
at
that the right choice for us?
To have,
not to forego the nice discipline of the omelet with the vegetables versus the oatmeal.
I think in that day, if you wanted an omelet with vegetables, I think you should absolutely go for it. And then that day, maybe make an effort to have chia seed pudding, right? Or put the flax seeds on the salad, or like you said.
Sometimes I feel like I'm doing it and I'm making maybe this isn't the best decision.
But that's the end of the day. That's what you want to do. Is this the best decision for myself in this moment?
Is that, you know what I'm saying? No,
I 100%. But like what she's saying is I'm in this challenge and I'm like really working on it.
Yeah.
Whereas I was eating the omelet every day.
Yeah, I did.
And that's where we
needed
get
to now
lazy,
out
right?
of the habit
Right.
and try other things. So now I'm doing oatmeal
Right.
and I'm eating the Dave's Killer bread because it's 3 grams of fiber and I wasn't eating bread before at all.
Right. So like,
So
I'm eating so much more bread. I'm like, is this good? Like, if we have a whole wheat pasta, like, this is good? I don't know. I feel really bloated.
Well, then that's
I don't know if you guys like wraps, but
not having, so much
We
for
hear
you.
you, Hope.
Maybe it's the wheat. Maybe you want to change have quinoa, right? That's a really
Yeah,
nice source of fiber.
Hope wants to chime in.
Interesting.
Oh, and Chris is here too.
so
Hi.
I don't know if you guys, if you like wraps, but Mission makes, it's called Carb-Wise wraps. And they make ones that are semi-small and there's 12 grams of fiber. And then the large ones have 25 grams of fiber.
Wow.
And they're like whole wheat, like they're good. I think they're good. And so that's
And they
been
are
helpful.
good. And my problem with them is they're made with wood pulp, right?
Oh.
Like there's nothing that's good for our bodies.
But it's fiber.
Okay, thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, and that is the problem there, because basically why do I try to get you to eat fiber? Because our goal here is to maintain a natural healthy weight, right? So if we eat, the more fiber we eat, the more we're summoning those prebiotic, happy, good bacteria that are going to keep our immune system strong, that keep our mental health good, and keep our weight good. So when we eat Mission carb control, and I get it, carb, it makes sense that you did that. And I don't think it's a common knowledge, right? But there's no good little bacteria guys that are going to come and eat that fiber. It's just not, it's not live, right? That's the goal. Like we want to have.
Wow, wood
Do
pulp,
you think
huh?
that we get just like these little bacteria, like after we've done this for a couple of weeks, something different going to happen in our stomach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How long will that take?
Oh, it could take a year, right? To really, but you want to change up our fibers. We don't want to eat, like you said, with the shake, we get it, but in the avocado, if we do that, that's not going to really make a difference. But if we, as the seasons change and we change the types of, like the peaches came in, we eat a little bit of the peaches, and the ribs come in, you eat some, right? That's the different, then we're
going to eat a lot of that stuff to get the fiber though.
Right. So that's where you want to figure out like you have the shake. That's one thing, right? That you can do. The avocado, an avocado toast, some chili, right? There are ways to figure it out that you eat oatmeal breakfast, 10 good 10 grams we can have, by having, your oatmeal.
Berries.
Put some berries or apple, a little bit of flax, a little bit of chia.
You do beans?
You don't like beans?
No. I got French lentils that I'm going to try. I don't even have a recipe for it.
I have a French lentil cold salad recipe. It's delicious.
Can you post that?
Yes.
If you could remember.
No, I don't remember. It's very good. It's a cold, and you can make it, and you could just put it on top of regular salad, or you can just eat like a.
Yeah.
Okay, got that. Anybody else want to talk about anything with the challenge? Or chime in more about the fiber?
Now, I disagree with those guys. Like I'm putting more bready kind of things in to get the fiber. So yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about that. Does that make you feel good, or does it make you feel guilty, or are you enjoying it?
Oh, I enjoy it, but I feel like it's maybe a little bit more bloated.
Totally.
Okay, so now for both of you, then I would look, you might have some sensitivity. I'm not going to call it an allergy, but a sensitivity to the wheat that's causing that bloating. So maybe switching it up and not having wheat all the time, maybe rotational. So you could, there's many different ways that we can have pastas. There's chickpea, there's lentil pasta, there's quinoa pasta, there's just quinoa, there's millet, right? There's so many ways that we can get fiber that's not just wheat related. Okay, so let's get on to our topic. So there's foods in the world that are created literally so they make more money. So we want to eat more food, right? So there's also advertising that there's giving us subliminal messages that we don't even know that's happening, right? They tell us that, you know, more is better. You can't just eat one chip, right? Like, you know, this message also creates that it's this obesity is our problem, right? And the truth that you can count calories burned and calories consumed, you'll never be able to factor. There's so many other components, right? And that's what we're going to really focus on. So obesogens, like Kim asked a little bit earlier, what are they actually? They're endocrine disruptors. They basically, are you able to hear me? I'm sorry, what? Oh, I heard noise. Somebody.
I think someone's not muted.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Basically, endocrine disruptors, basically our endocrine system is our hormonal system. There's thousands and thousands of different hormonal systems that are being provided to us as we move through every day. But what these endocrine disruptors do, they're getting in our own biology's way. And so what we think that we're not being enough, we're not, you know, not moving enough, or we're not eating right enough, but there's actually more. So we're going to learn some things that are going to help us improve and change our life. So what does affect our health? So stress plays more of a role than I bet we're going to hear more and more about that. I hear it all the time. People go to Spain or Italy or anywhere else in the world, you know, and they're like, I was able to eat all this and I didn't gain a pound, right? I hear that. Yes, but I did move a lot more, right? That's one thing. But stress in our daily lives, and even if we don't have, so to say, perceived stress, but we allow our body to go in that mode of parasympathetic, or sympathetic nervous system, then we're in a lot of stress mode. But that affects our hormones, our fat storage, affects our cortisol levels. There's also environmental substances that can affect our health. Basically, obesogens disrupt and the balance of our lipid metabolism, which can lead to obesity. Basically, our toxins that we run into, toxins from medicine, toxins from air, toxins from water bottles, the packaging, all of that, guess where those toxins get stored? Anybody know the answer there?
In our liver?
Our fat cells.
Oh.
In our fat cells. So that is why the more toxins that we consume or we are surrounded by, there we go, why we keep that extra fat. So it changes how our energy is stored. And the other thing that happens is it affects our appetite. I'm going to bring this. I'm just trying to move this bar. And bring this back. I'm going to stop my share and go back for 1 second. Okay. So basically, it can change our appetite, these different types of factors in the foods. And anybody is at risk, regardless of how we eat. So basically, obesogens cause more fat cells. They cause bigger fat cells, leading to bigger people, bigger animals. So basically, it changes the expression of how our DNA acts, right? Our DNA is our DNA. It's just changing how it behaves. Really, that's what. So ultimately, we want to avoid those obesogens, those endocrine disruptors, as much as we can. So we have our genes, our genetic material behaving properly. That is the goal. Some things we can't control. Like, it's just, we are living in unfortunately, a toxic world. So, but we know there's things that we can do to shift that. So here's some of the things that where we find pesticides, solvents, BPA. So cash register tapes, believe it or not, there's a lot on those receipts. So when somebody asks you for a receipt, no thank you. You know, you get it emailed to you.
Especially CVS right now, they have like 12 feet long receipts.
It's true. It's true.
And that's the drugstore. That's their point, right? Then you got to buy drugs from them.
Could be. Plastics. Here's one, like we think about, you know, sometimes you go to certain municipalities and like you can't even get a regular straw and you're like drinking out of the straw and it's like dissolving and you can't even finish your drink. Did anybody ever travel to find one of those places? Do you know that those straws that they're trying to get have more PFAS chemicals than that plastic straw? So there's so much of that. Or you might go to like a very granola-y, like Kim might go up in Manhattan to like a takeout place that has like, you know, environmentally friendly packaging. However, it's got a coating on the top of it of PFAS chemicals. So it's not always better than what we were thinking. But those PFAS chemicals are forever chemicals. That's what they're finding is now in our water, and the babies are born with it. It's in their bloodstream, right? So those are things like, which we'll talk about. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Arsenic, here's one. Brown rice is another one. We love to think, oh, that's really healthy, but brown rice has arsenic in it. You know, so these are things like do eat white rice, you know, but make sure now you know how to get more fiber. You eat more fiber with that meal. Maybe you have rice with quinoa mixed, or rice and wild rice, so you're having more fiber.
Did you know why they put arsenic in the brown rice?
It's not they're putting it. It's in the ground. It's in the soil.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's really important, not that we're all in that age, but really important for children to stay away because arsenic affects brain development. Those chemicals like I talked about, they interfere with how hormones work in our body. Pain, you know, so there's so many different things that we don't necessarily think about. What happened to that slide? So what we want to look at, where do we get them? Non-stick cookware. Does anybody use non-stick cookware?
All the time.
Yeah. So that would be one place that we find, you know, and there are some documentaries to watch about that and how it causes cancer and, you know, some really horrible diseases. So, and birth defects. And so, and you'll get this in a little tomorrow or the next day. There's also like Teflon, you know, there's a lot of lawsuits about those chemicals and how they did destroy health of communities. But they just changed, you know, if anybody knows anything about chemistry, they just changed a couple things. Now they call it something else for nonstick. It's not necessarily Teflon, but it doesn't mean it's any better or any safer. So really, that if you can avoid it, avoiding nonstick, getting some iron pans, some stainless steel, using a little bit of oil, like, you know, so it doesn't stick. That is a much, much better option than using those. Water resistant clothing, just like I talked about, you know, I do own a very nice Gore-Tex jacket, I have to admit, but I hope this will be I will be the only one that I own for the rest of this life. That's my intention anyway. Stain resistant furniture, right? Those have those chemicals in it. Carpeting, certain clothings have that. Basically, what is it linked to? Endocrine disruption, affecting your weight is essentially what we're talking about, and cancer. And so, like, you know, when we don't need stain resistant, you know, see if you could choose not to. That's made safe seal. If you can see that when you're buying things, that's a really good thing to look at. So you can see here, this is just like a little demonstration of how these forever chemicals get eaten and then how we end up eating them. So There's just so many layers to how this affects us. They're everywhere. Not gonna really go over that, but you can see everything is related. So even if like we can't separate ourselves from what's in the environment, we are part of the environment, right? So what we need to do to prevent that is to continue to drink our water, to eat those vegetables, so our body can continuously process those chemicals that we are surrounded by to do its pathways. So we want to limit our exposure as much as we can. So, but not only just for our own weight, but to prevent cancer, dementia, hormone imbalances, not being able to sleep, hot flashes, blood sugar issues, diabetes, those types of things. So looking for that BPA free when we are getting plastic, to look for that when we're buying things. Trying to use glass or stainless steel containers is super helpful. Maybe instead of using plastic water bottles, get a nice stainless steel or a glass water bottle. Those are things that you can control. Instead of buying cases of water, maybe get a water filter. Whether those, or get a water delivery, so you have a 5-gallon thing versus a 24 little bottles of things. And especially don't leave your plastic water, if you bought it, in the car where it gets hot and cold and now it's leaching. So those are things that we want to think about. I just want to stop here and ask for some comments or some questions that might have come up already for you.
Gotta get new pots and pans, is that what you're thinking?
I have a question, because now all of a sudden I use a lot more silicone. So is that something we shouldn't be using?
That's a great thing to say. Yeah, that's okay. That's using the silicone, whether it's the silicone thing, or
Spatula.
I have the silicone baking goes on top of your cookie tray. And that doesn't stick, because basically most of those cookie sheets, my mom every Christmas would buy us those cookie sheets, and they were the non-stick ones, right? So I'm like, oh, so I had to go out and buy, and now they get so dirty so fast, where the other ones were so, so easy. But so those silicone baking mats are super nice.
Yeah, this is my 3rd year in the program, right? So almost through 3 years. The first year when I first learned this, I got rid of any nonstick pans and I started using just stainless steel that I had, and I did buy one.
Yeah.
So I feel good. I did that change right away. But now, like, my air fryer is nonstick, so I use that a lot now.
I know, and that's one thing that
we control that, like you said. But
it's
still better to use that in some ways than
that's
oil.
You don't want to get nuts, right? Like there are even rice cookers, right? A lot of them are that non-stick, right? But then you can, if you're looking very carefully, get one that is just a stainless steel thing in the center. But yes, so same with, I don't know that yet, because I know what we did with our air fryer was we got another stainless steel basket and we kind of rigged it in, and it worked, but not everybody's figured that out. But that was a really good point. Anybody in Zoom world have?
No.
Georgia, some people say, if you're like people that recycle, they say, oh, they're so worried about the glass and the plastic, but yet they fly in an airplane and that's ruining the environment. So you're not making a dent. So when it comes to this stuff, it's worth making dents. You know what I mean?
Right. Is this really worth it? It's materially going to.
I'm wearing the Gore-Tex jacket every day. So can I still use a plastic bottle, or is that going to make a dent? I know kids think of this. I'm thinking that. Is it really worth doing the little stuff if still some of the big stuff is still going to be there?
I think so. I think it makes a big difference. What it does is it helps ground us from going about a day not unconsciously to being in the moment, being like, oh, let me see, and recognizing that, of course, that's kind of the same thing, that I don't make a difference. So everything I do makes a difference, and not just for me, but for the world, right? Like, so I think so, because it makes you mindfully like, oh, okay, I could order out from there, but then I'm gonna have to do it. Okay, so I'm just moved and I'm staying at a friend's house, so I've had to like get takeout. The amount of trash that I've made over 2 days, and looking at the little packages, and then the water, and like, oh my God, like, yeah, I think it makes a huge difference. I feel like I have less of a impact, or like
The footprint.
Yeah. But that's where I want you to use your, like, throughout this, find something that makes sense for you. If it doesn't make sense, why it's not, don't forget it. Maybe someday it will, but do what might make a difference for you. So like,
so do you think like the water bottles, like now they're, they sell them and they're plastic, but they say BPA free, are they?
well, they say they are, but I don't necessarily trust it. They're still plastic. They're still, temperature changes can leach. Even if you're using old bottles that have been sitting there in water in a warehouse for a while, that is still leaking plastic. That is going into your bloodstream. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily. Now the cloudy water bottles have more leaching than the clear ones, right? So if you buy those gallon ones, that are cloudy, that plastic, that is worse than the clean one. Rishi, you got to be there for a few more minutes. And then once again, cast iron, food is so good to cook with, plus you're getting a little extra iron in your food when you do that. Stainless steel lasts forever when you get a good one. And then let's talk about this. I didn't really want to go over that diagram, but large fish, let's talk about that. Large fish eat lots of other size fish. So there's lots of different toxins that they're able to have. So the smaller fish that you eat will end up being healthier. So like anchovies, sardines there's not as many toxins as you get into those bigger fish. Hold on for 1 second.
They make little salmon?
Whoa.
What's up with that?
Hey.
Can't do it. That's our big one.
I know it might count as strength training, but the cast iron is just too heavy for me. Like I had stainless steel. Yes,
Yeah, I know. I agree with you.
I'm hesitant about bringing it over to Kim.
I am hesitant too. But you know what? I'll go over here. I said.
Sit.
Maybe it's your dog.
She loves dogs. All dogs. So also what we want to think about is when we do eat some of those fish, they're going to have more omega-3s. So like, remember, we want to think about wild salmon from Faroe Island, if it's farm raised in a sustainable way. We want to think about avoiding farm raised fish or anything like that's like that, because they are not eating the diet that they are meant to get. So we're not going to get those omega-3s that we actually want. So kind of thinking about that as well. I think we've talked about that in another session, remembering that, to be mindful about the types of fish that we have. The fish, I know my daughter was an environmental scientist, and they talk about by year 2050, we're going to have like hardly, if any, fish as a food source to us. So, thinking about a
natural food source.
As a natural, exactly. Like even right now, we have we have a crab shortage right now because they overfished, right? So those are things to think about. And once again, back to that fiber thing, flax seeds, chia seeds, also once again, good about cleansing the body. Oh my gosh.
That's a question about flax seeds that have nothing to do with this. I have flax seeds and it says you need to grind them.
You do.
You do?
Or you buy them ground. I've been recently buying them ground already.
But you grind them. That's right.
So if you wanted to do it for like a fiber, you can get it. You're not going to get all the benefits.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if you're doing it for a fiber benefit, those little bacteria will be able to break them down. To some degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it always called flaxseed meal when it's ground?
Or milled or ground. Yeah, something
It's
like
like a
that.
flaxseed meal, it's called.
I didn't know what I just bought flax seeds and then I looked at the label and said to grind it and it's like,
I wonder if you put them in a smoothie, will it chop it enough?
If you have a Vitamix and you do it at first, yeah. If you do it at
oh, if
first,
you think if I do it in Vitamix, it'll work?
it will.
Oh, okay.
100%. I used to make flaxseed crackers for a health food store, and yeah. So if you do that at first, it'll blend very nicely.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
So, okay, so back to chemical pesticides. That's another thing that are endocrine disruptors, you know, and some are less lethal than others. Some are super lethal, right? But in clinical studies, they show that when these little rodents are exposed to these chemical pesticides, they gain weight. I mean, yes, I'd rather somebody eat some vegetables than no vegetables, right? Some chemical pesticides over, you know, than the organic, but you know, ultimately we want to play a role. Can we wash it? Wash in vinegar, right? Or get a vegetable wash, do what we can, but some of them are just in there. Okay. So like we really do our best, you know, in the summertime, instead of going to the ShopRite where we're going to get a lot of, go buy local. They're never going to have as many pesticides. Huh? Why would you be doing that? No. Quiet.
Like, that's so weird. It's the nonstick skillets. She senses them.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. I had to cook in one this morning. It was like against everything I had. And it's stuck. That's the other thing. It's stuck. Okay, so the BPA, let's talk about that. The BPA, the plastics that we run into, they cause fatty liver. They increase our body fat storage in the belly. They increase glucose intolerance, causing, you know, more weight gain. So let's go back to the pesticides. There's also something called glyphosate, which is also known as Roundup. Now they are spraying that on oats, wheat, which could also cause the both of you saying you're feeling a little bit bloated. It might not be the wheat, it might be the glyphosate. Okay, basically Roundup is basically a weed killer. It's a poison. It's causing leaky gut. So that could be what's causing your belly, but it could be wheat. Everybody's, you know,
different.
Hard to figure it out without doing a test, but
it could be just like, you know, all of a sudden when you're eating that kind of stuff morning, noon, and night, when you haven't been eating it morning, noon, and night,
your body's getting adjusted.
Like, what the heck is like what are you doing to me right now? You know?
Yeah, something different.
Could be. Yeah, absolutely. But hopefully by now you guys have been working on eating more fiber. I mean, I know the holidays just happened. And
yeah.
That tends to be, you know, the winter just generally tends to be more of a time where we eat heavier, fattier foods, let more sugar and just naturally less fiber. It just happens. So you're right. Maybe because of that now you're eating more fiber and you're getting a little bit more bloated. So basically the glyphosate is just got the same, basically glyphosate dries the product out so the company can make more money. They get it harvested a bit quicker. But when, like I said, that's just another thing that we want to like take a look at. It's also in flax. So we want to buy, they're spraying flax now. They're starting to spray lentils. So those are, if you have the resources, buying organic of those types of things is important. And then I would never say this one right, phthalates in plastic, vinyl, toys, paint, air fresheners, personal care products, they're also linked to obesity. So flame retardants, you know, so there's so many different things that are known as endocrine disruptors. So we kind of want to watch that. MSG is another one, although as I did, you know, looking a little closer, I'm just starting to look at, they're saying that MSG might not be as bad as they thought. I was just seeing a couple of different articles. So this, I don't have it completely. I'll let you know more about that another time. So here's a couple things. We're just looking at like all the different ingredients in here. Remember, these are those companies that I was talking about that create us to want to eat more and more and more of these things. Does anybody ever notice once you start eating these types of foods that you kind of can't control yourself and you
Yep.
And so, the easy solution is don't buy it, right? That's it. Or find, make some sort of a alternative could be something to think about. But there's so many things wrong with this. Okay, so like if I was going to break this down for me to make a decision, if I was going to buy this. Now, mine back in the day, I really liked the Doritos, the ranch, not the ranch ones, but the nacho ones. So corn, first of all, that could be genetically modified, right? So right now,
you right there.
I'm done. I'm out. Vegetable oil, it's got corn, canola, I'm out, right? Maltodextrin made from corn, I'm out. Okay, salt, tomato powder, cornstarch, once again, it's GMO, lactose, which is fine, whey, I'm cool, but then I'm thinking, okay, what am I thinking there? Oh, how was that cow fed? Did they do antibiotics? Was there growth hormone? Corn syrup, absolutely not eating that because that's really high fructose corn syrup. So that's causing my blood sugar going super high, right? So I've already made that decision. But then as we get down lower, we got artificial colors, red. We know red is so bad for children and behaviors. And I think there's something now about dementia. So like there's so many things that wrong. Like I would not put a taste of this in my body personally. But that's where, if you start to think like that, you'll make decisions that are just naturally make sense. Would anybody buy these? Would this be something anybody would eat?
Sometimes.
Not in the last year.
Not the last year. So yeah, but as you look, you can see there's just so many things as we get into the like disodium. There's we want to try to avoid as much.
It doesn't sound very appetizing, yet they taste so good, right?
But I would buy potato chips when the ingredients are potatoes and olive oil and salt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's a much better choice.
Than this,
much better choice. And if I was
hopefully not a huge bag that you eat at one sitting.
Well, like this, no, I don't do that. That's one thing I don't do.
Good.
No,
I'm not a one sitting eating unless it's a bad day.
Good. How about you gals? Would you eat like a whole bag of chips, even if they were like the healthier version of chips?
Me?
Yeah.
I could eat a number of chips. Actually, I just ran and I found these chickpea, like cheddar puffs, I guess they are. So I wanted to see the ingredients and see, I guess, what was there. So it claimed to be organic, but I guess that's not always the best, right? So they have chickpea flour, rice flour, tapioca starch, yellow pea flour, canola oil and or safflower oil and or sunflower oil, salt, cane sugar, organic flavors, it doesn't say what they are, onion powder, garlic powder, rosemary extract, citric acid in it. So
those are generally pretty good. I mean, for me personally, the canola oil, I'm out, but the rest of that, unless it's when I say I'm out most of the time, but pretend I was on a journey and I was really hungry and there was no food and, that was my best choice of what I had, then I'm always gonna, I'm going to eat it. Or like Kim said, it's a bad day and that just felt good to me. Then I'll go for it, right? But generally that would be, but that's a much better choice than looking at these Cool Ranch Doritos. How do they taste? And that's always another good thing to look at.
So I think they taste pretty good and they have a lot of crunch. So they're kind of like a Cheetos kind of thing. And they actually have 3 grams of fiber for this little bag.
Wowzers, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I was like, I gave it a try. So, but I'm like, because I know sometimes it may look like it's better, you know, you think it's healthy, but there's something in there that you're like, oh,
Yeah, and
no,
that generally didn't have anything, you know, we don't know what those organic flavors were, but
yeah.
we would have had to have said those harmful preservatives.
Right. Okay.
So here's another one, artificial sweeteners. This is a common thing that people think they're doing okay if they drink diet soda, diet iced tea. I know that was one of my father's favorite, you know, getting that diet Snapple. But basically, artificial sweeteners destroy the microbiome. They literally are just not good for us. They're made in a factory. They destroy our leptin, the hormone that balances, that says, hey, you've had enough to eat, you know, chill out, right? Like it destroys that, tends to cause us to want to eat more food, tends us to have more cravings, and can also, because those are 10 to 100 times sweeter than regular sugar, what it does is it can also cause your sugars to rise. So unfortunately, they're not one of those things. I don't know. Does anybody drink these or?
You know, I haven't had it like it. I used to drink Coke like once a week and I stopped. And it was over my sister's and I had a diet ginger ale. And I was like, oh my God, it's the first diet drink that I've ever tasted I actually like, no calories. So I did buy a 6-pack of them. And like once a week I've been having one. But I never had it before. I never, because I didn't like the taste.
And that would be a better, I mean, if I was going to say that would be a better option than the Diet Coke, because sometimes people are getting addicted to the caffeine in there, and there's no, there's no caffeine, so you're not going to, because that one's an easy one for people to get really wrapped up in, and really hard to quit too, really, really hard.
So probably not a good choice.
So what we're trying to figure out here, so things to do instead: honey, date sugar, use sugar as a regular treat, right? Use whole fruit with already has its fiber in the water. This is just a little label here. You could just see, this is the newer label, which is great. You get to see like the total number of carbohydrates. You get to see the dietary fat, the sugars, and actually this is still an old label, the added sugar. So we want to always look at what the added sugars are. But you can see here looking here, it's just dates. That's it. That's all that's in there. So that's like a good choice. Just to recap, avoiding using artificial sweeteners, kind of what we said, choose for natural sweeteners, and then eat fruit.
What about agave syrup?
Okay, good one. So agave is basically what they make tequila out of, right? The problem with agave is to process it to get in that nice syrup, they process it with ether. So it's not necessarily, the chemical process to get there is horrible. So I know it's got a lower glycemia. It's really not that much different. Like, so
between agave and honey, you go with honey?
I go with honey for sure. Because look, it's like the bees and you go to the hive, right? They get it's like that much. I mean, yes, they do have to nowadays treat the hive with some sort of pesticide just because they'll go sick and they'll have no honey. But generally, yeah, that's the easiest way to go. Best.
What about just like raw sugar when I just want to have a little sugar in my tea if I'm not going to do honey?
Yeah, like I think that's like a little raw sugar, like you're just, what do you put in, like a little half of a teaspoon?
Yeah, just a little.
So just be careful, like when we use that, like there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of sugar, right? The problem is our bodies want to have more and more and more and more. When you start to notice that you're doing, this, then that's a problem. But if you're able to stay and just having a little bit, there's no harm in that. But they are spraying that glyphosate, which I talked about, on sugarcane now. So it is one of those things. So if you can we know to protect ourselves, although there's always, cross-contamination, but organic, that will be your option. Real cane sugar.
Okay.
If you know, if we chew on real cane, or even like when I was in Vietnam, we had sugar cane juice, like they juiced it. And it's sweet enough, right? But we're taking sugar cane and we're processing it down to make it powdered. So it's super, super sweet. But our bodies can get used to it not being super sweet. We just have to allow it like that.
Georgia, how is maple syrup, pure maple syrup, different from like Mrs. Butterworth, Mrs. Aunt Jemima type stuff? Like,
Oh, they're totally two
does
different
that have any
things.
real maple syrup in it? Then
I don't think so.
Just
Because
has,
the
like,
labels are
flavoring.
so different. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like I don't like it myself. I don't like the taste of maple syrup, but I'll put a little in things now. If a recipe calls for sugar, I will put it in. But I got my dad eating real maple syrup now because he used to eat, he doesn't care. You don't know the difference.
Yeah.
So I buy him the real stuff, but I'm not,
I don't
sure
think
that
it tastes
it's
much different though.
No.
But the ingredients list is crazy different. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I don't have the other to look at.
Yeah.
I should look at it in the store.
So
It's crazy.
you were just
Crazy.
recently looking.
Chemical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like that other like Mr. Butterworth,
Yeah,
Aunt
yeah.
Jemima, those are really bad for us. Like we, as much as we can, if we're going out to a breakfast place, we want to see real maple syrup on there. I mean, not the end of the world if you have it, but it's like, yeah, it's high fructose corn syrup. One of those things. It's one of those things. Our body doesn't know what. That's basically, if I could sum up what we're talking about, is all these things that we're doing. It's confusing the body to do how it's supposed to process. That's really what's happening. It's blocking things from doing things the way it's supposed to. High fructose corn syrup is absolutely one of those things. Body doesn't know how to process it, so in turn causes blood sugar to rise and not in a good way. When blood sugars rise, what's happened? We are going to start to gain weight. It's going to throw off other functions of our body. So that's essentially what happens. Let's see if there's anything else. Pharmaceuticals, these are other things. Yes, pharmaceuticals, they have a place in our society. There's things that we may need to have them for in different parts in our bodies, right? But there is so many things that is maybe not necessary to take, or maybe not so much. We need to advocate for ourselves and do research to see. Like I had a woman in here today, she's doing so much better with her, she's on a medicine that helps her migraines. However, the side effect for her is her liver enzymes. She's in her 30s. Her liver enzymes are really elevated because your medications are processed in your liver. And so there's a consequence. So we want to once again, be mindful. But if I was her, I probably would take that risk and take that medicine if I was one that was getting migraines and it was affecting my life to do what I really needed to do. But now she's working on, we're going to work on what can she do to get those liver enzymes down while she still takes that. And that's really what I want to kind of think about for you is look at this whole thing is you don't need to be perfect, but just question and get curious about yourself and why you do a certain thing. Is it just because, is it really the best for you at this time? I really like to have potato chips, so I'm not going to do this, right? Like we need to ask our questions. Like, do we really I really despise scrubbing a pan, right? Like, what did you say? I walked out. What did you say about the iron pan?
Oh, they're heavy.
They're heavy.
Really
yeah.
Yeah. I don't really like using them because they're so heavy.
So did you figure out copper is another one. Stainless steel. Yeah, because some of them, you can't, or your wrist or your elbow, right? Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, so you got to that makes sense to me. We have to everything I say doesn't mean it has to be for you at this time, but try to find a balance of basically always how can we be better? How can we be better for ourselves, for our family or community? That's all. I
took my dad to the primary care doctor yesterday. And she said, she looked at my dad and pointed to me and said, she's now a doctor. Because I sent her a message through the portal a few weeks ago asking about a prescription that my dad had been taking. It was an antidepressant. And I looked it up after his sodium level was low. I looked up that particular medication and it said it could lower sodium levels. Now my dad's not allowed to eat a lot of sodium because he has congestive heart failure. So we're like, well, how can he get his sodium up then if he can't eat it? So it looks like this pill might be causing it, partly anyway. So I messaged the doctor and she said that could be causing it. Stop it, get blood work, blah, 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 and then come in. So we stopped it. The blood work was better with the sodium. We went to see her yesterday and she confirmed that. She goes, that's great. Sorry, we didn't catch that. And the cardiologist didn't catch it either. So now my dad actually has more energy because the cardiologist said low sodium levels could make him lethargic.
Oh, geez.
So like every little thing makes a difference, like you were saying, you know?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
It's such a good
Yeah.
story.
And I'm glad I found it. I'm glad somebody found it, but like, I'm glad it was me, you know?
Mm.
So now my dad like trusts me a little more now, you know, like great, I got his back.
And that being said, if anybody's interested, I can always give you a site. I think it's called My Taxin, and you just plug in the medication that you're on, and it gives what it robs your body of. Because every pharmaceutical will take into your body and it will take something away to do what it has to do. So you want to, like, for example, somebody's on a statin, for example, to lower cholesterol. What that's going to take away from that person's body is coenzyme Q10. That's why many doctors are saying, make sure you take coenzyme Q10. If somebody's
what is
on
the coenzyme Q10, what is that?
it's basically your body makes from eating dark leafy vegetables,
Yeah.
vitamin K2, it makes ubiquinol, which converts to coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 keeps oxygenation of cells of the body, keeps you having energy, cleanses you, cognitive function. It just does so many good things. So that's why. So if somebody's on statin, you want to supplement CoQ10.
That's what they call it, CoQ10.
Coenzyme Q10.
Bottle.
Okay. If you
You
have
look it up,
questions
read it
and you want to do more about that, you have sessions you have not used. So
Okay,
you should,
okay.
we should do that because we could talk about stuff like that.
Okay.
And and that being said, even like blood pressure medicine, right? That takes away potassium. So the doctors say to take potassium. Somebody's on oral contraceptive, takes away B vitamins. A lot of antidepressants take away B vitamins. So there are different things. So we kind of want to know. But besides that, once again, it processes in the liver. So we want to be on as least amount of those as possible. Like we just found one, like, her dad might have been on that for years and years and we didn't know it, and he might not need it, but we might find in a couple months he's starting to not get out of bed or whatever. We might find that he might need to go on something different, right? Those are things, or maybe the diet that you're feeding him and getting him out in a different way is
He was
providing
only on it
that
for eight weeks, and we think it was enough to
to get
him where he is.
Yeah, because he was-
should be okay, but if not, we'll get something else. Maybe.
yeah, so that's great.
But I like the idea of that toxin.
Yeah, and I could look at that in it's like saved in my book bar, so I don't always see it, but I think it's my Taxin, and then it's wonderful because you just type whatever medicine, and then you could put in a couple of them, and then you could see like the whole gamut of what's great. But it does. Just see if there's anything else. Any questions on pharmaceuticals? I think it's always and then some, I'm just reiterating different things because sometimes people forget, or you might help somebody else. Thyroid medicine needs to be separated from calcium for a couple hours. So we want to make sure it's, there's a lot.
I have a question on does it make a difference if you're taking like your vitamins? Because I don't think medicine comes in like the gummy or chewables, or does it take the pill? Like, does that make a process with how it's processed, I guess?
Are you asking just supplements?
Yeah.
Yeah. So every supplement is going to be absorbed differently. Okay. So a tablet, for example, like a Centrum, that's with those binders and fillers, those technically, a Centrum in particular, is only 3% absorbed. Some other tablets can be about 15 to 20% absorbed. A capsule is 20%, maybe up to 40% absorbed. If you're taking a powdered or a liquid, it's pretty much 90% absorbed, depending on an empty stomach or not, and the formulation. The gummies, honestly, I don't know the absorption. I have not studied the gummies. Gummies has become very in a fast way, and I actually don't know the answer to that. My guess is because it's going through the GI system and it's being broken down because it's just in a little bit of sugar. My guess is it's pretty absorbed. I'm thinking it's pretty good, but I don't know that. I will look into that and get back to you.
Thanks.
Okay, so these are just, I just want to just bring this in because sometimes we don't think like this, but antipsychotics can also cause weight gain. So if anybody's on any of these, Abilify, or you know people on them, right? Zyprexa, Seroquel, Risperdal, and it's the same thing about these is they also, a lot of these antipsychotics cause weight gain, but they also rob the body of vitamin D and calcium. So my point here is I want to just reiterate that all of these things they have a consequence. And so we want to know what the consequence is. Like, kudos to Joanne. Like, to me, that's amazing. She was able to figure that out, right? But we want to know, because like I know people that get on like Seroquel, for example, and they're on it for a long period of time, but nobody told them that it's taken away your calcium, and then they go get a bone scan and now they're osteopenia or osteoporotic. Okay, so those are things like we want to know what we're doing. We don't want to just because the doctor gave it to us and not do any research. We got to spend a little bit of time to do some research on these things. Yeah.
Or ask the doctor a second question. I mean,
absolutely.
Really, that's really what we should be doing. I mean, research is one thing, but we should just like say to the doctor, well, what's the ramification of this in terms of,
and hope they know. They might not know.
you would hope they would know that
so,
they would say, okay, well, if you're on this, you're being deprived of this, and you should be taking this type of supplement.
But every doctor asks you, are you still taking, or what medicines are you taking? Everybody knew my dad was taking this antidepressant, but no one said,
It's
oh, maybe
like-
that's one thing.
Kim, I think a better place to go, because like the doctors don't really know, I'm sorry, they just don't, but the pharmacist knows the ramifications of all that, and they can, they're amazing. They really truly understand it. And like what she's saying, some medications when they go together, you know, it changes the whole game of it.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors, I'll just give you, for example, like the pepsids and those omeprazole and stuff like that. The doctor's like, oh no, it's totally safe. But then they go and they find out that, you know, years later, well, the doctor said it was safe, and you know, now I have throat cancer, right? Like there are things. So some they think it's safe, but it's not always safe.
They don't know. Yeah, they don't know.
Or it's safe for the clinical studies say it's safe for 6 weeks, right? But yeah, I've been on it for 2 years,
right?
You know. Yeah, so these are just a couple things. People that go on antidepressants, it can increase appetite and sugar cravings. So just kind of be aware of those types of things. These chemicals, that's why we did the cleanses twice, is because we want to clean out those fat cells. We don't want those toxins staying in there, because they're going to stay in there until you do the cleanse, right? They're going to be there. So we want to properly detoxify. And how can we do that? We want to eat clean foods, right? Fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and beans, good quality lean protein, right? Staying away from sugar, too much alcohol, environmental toxins. We avoid them when possible. Like if you're going to be varnishing, put a mask on. If you're painting, you know, put a mask on. If you're doing something with sawdust, put some goggles on. You know, just think before you act. Be as safe as you possibly can. Plastics. Do I need this? Do I need to buy this? Or is there another way to get the same thing without having this extra plastic? You know, asking ourselves that. Can I get it in this packaging? So when you're buying packaging, look. What are my options here? Beans, for example. Nowadays, you could get the beans in the can, but now they come in boxes. Tuna, now they come cans, but in pouches. So looking at what's going to provide me the least amount of impact. Water. Am I drinking enough water? Remember, water is that big thing that cleanses the kidneys, right? Super, super important. It improves the metabolism. It decreases pain when we're hydrated properly. So we want to really make sure that we don't slack on water. It's one thing we don't want to slack on. Stress. Are we managing our stress, or do we just continue on that same hamster wheel and we just don't, it doesn't matter, we don't matter, just keep going, keep going, keep going. But no, because that really is going to impact our health. Hormones, are we doing what we can to stay balanced? The more what we eat properly, that we sleep properly, that we're in positive relationships, socializing, spending time alone, doing self-care, the more we're going to be balanced hormonally. And normal bodily waste products. So that being said, like, we want to make sure, are we eliminating properly? And I know I'm speaking of some weird stuff here, but like, are your stools formed in the morning, or are they always loose? It's not okay to be always loose, because now you're not absorbing your fat soluble vitamins. That's where in your large intestine, that's where we're absorbing those fat soluble vitamins. So we want to make sure that we're having normal, healthy stools. It's not something, it's a luxury. It's the way it's supposed to be. And if you're not, we need to get you to the place to fix that, right? And once again, like, some of you haven't used all of your sessions, and we have a couple more, left. Use them, make appointments. I'm sure the more you can, there's things that we can work on to help you. Uh-oh. Okay, so nicotines, air pollutions, parabens. Basically, parabens are in a lot of our personal care products. They mimic estrogen. They're in things like lotion and makeup, hair care. So you can look for paraben-free. EWG, which I'm going to send you a link for in the next, if you didn't get it today, it's going to come tomorrow. Just to look at, they have like a clean beauty thing that you can find good, healthy products that are minimizing all of these things that we're talking about. And then you can read and peruse at your own pace. That's the company that my daughter works for, the clean beauty part. So finally I got to the section to kind of plug what she does. She does all the research for them with it from the Revlon and the L'Oreal and all these new companies that are coming in to take their products to be cleaner. Because the average woman uses about 8 products, personal care products, and how those actually combine the chemicals can actually cause harm. So the more we can eliminate some of them, the better it is for our overall health. And believe it or not, it helps slow our aging process down as well. So we want to, we're talking about weight gain here, but we're also talking about aging ourselves. So we want to, these are things to slow us down. So back to that fat storage. The body is more than one way to defend its fat stores. Body weight's one way. Genetics plays another role. Those epigenetic effects. Basically, there's those traits that do not involve changes to the DNA, the environment, diet, exercise, sleep, stress. Body fat regulation is super complex. It's easier to gain weight than it is to lose weight based on those 3 factors. But fat cells, believe it or not, are biologically active for 10 years. Okay. So even if we lose those, they want to get back to their normal size. They're fighting for their life, right? Literally. So we will always have those certain fat cells. Even if you get liposuction, those fat cells are gonna come back. Small fat cells produce the least amount of leptin. This is a very key factor here. Do you get this? Small fat cells create least amount of leptin. So what that means is you're going to be able not to have that leptin resistance where you tend to not get satisfied or full. So we really, really want that. Fat cells release hormones. These hormones communicate with the brain, the liver, the pancreas. So we want our fat cells to be, not filled with toxins, right? That's important. Additives to avoid. So this is where the EWG, you can look at like the Dirty Dozen. There's this, why is that? Looks like it's a copied slide. That is not. I need to look at that. I will send you those additives to avoid. I'll put that in a handout for you guys. warning labels. So just just be wary of those. When something says, you know, it's gonna do this when you're buying a product, just be careful. Like, does it really, like, look, use your common sense to see if it's good practice or not. What can we do to avoid obesogens? Aim to prepare your own meals and snacks as much as possible. Avoid artificial preservatives and hydrogenated fats. Avoiding added sugars and artificial sweeteners. The thing that corn syrup, they don't have to put high fructose corn syrup on it anymore. They could just say corn syrup. So if it says corn syrup, assume that it's high fructose corn syrup and avoid it. It's just avoid it. If we're going to get meat, buy organic, grass-fed, wild-caught, buy local, buy seasonal. Vary your food. Make your food different each and every week. Ask how your food is grown. You know, be part of the food system. Ask, do you use herbicides? Do you use pesticides? How do you treat if there is something? What are you using? Copper, what are you using? Wash your produce no matter what. You know, and that's just common sense. Just wash, you know, whether it's a little bit of soap or a little bit of vinegar. Organic versus conventional. I think we've talked about this a bit. Generally, organic food has less of an impact for cancer. However, if you are, you know, you have to watch, then, you know, and it does look healthy. Like, I'd rather you have something that looks alive, like not shriveled up in the organic section. Like, you, once again, use your common sense. Organic food has been proven to have more vitamins and minerals as well. So looking at that.
Is that true for, you know, like, what do they say? Like a banana, you don't need to buy organic because it's got the big, I don't know what you call that.
Thick skin.
The thick skin, like the things with the
That
thicker
is
skin, you don't need to get the organic. So is that still true that
Oh yeah.
like an organic banana would still health-wise be better?
So I don't know about that, like, because they do taste better, the organic bananas, but I don't know if it's going to be health-wise that much different in a banana.
Okay.
I haven't seen a research study on that particular one.
If
But
you ate the skin, right? Like,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
that skin doesn't absorb it like other skins. That's
Right, they say if
So
it's got
that-
a big skin, then you don't really need to buy organic. Or it says like a berry that you, like an orange or pineapple doesn't need to be organic, but the berry should be organic.
Uh-huh.
That's what they say.
So she says.
That's what it said.
Yeah, that's what we
She's
say.
one of they.
I am one of they, but I don't know about the banana one per se. I just know that as far as nutritionally, if you're going to get more benefits out of
Okay.
it. However, my newest discovery is that when we eat a green or banana, it's better for our microbiome than a riper banana. So, you know, those of you that want to have better digestion, want to have a little bit more healthy, happy microbes, increase your short chain fatty acids, a little, you know, maybe even a half of a green banana a day might be a good thing. You know, green banana flour. Oh, that's another one. If somebody wants to get more fiber, that's an easy way to get using that green banana flour. Let's see.
Is that a substitute for white flour?
Could use it all, but you could use it that
Yeah,
with something else.
You can combine it.
Yep. Yeah, we kind of talked about this. Yeah, we just did this. We talked about all this. Features, labels. Yes, we talked about all of this. Yeah, avoiding fish high on the food chain. Sharks, swordfish, bluefin, tuna, halibut, mackerel. You know, and then, but that doesn't mean, hey, I love that. I go to get to this place over your birthday and it's wonderful and I love my halibut. That's okay. Like, just try not to make that your thing all the time. Okay, but remember, those small fishes are always going to be your healthiest choice. Remember, read your labels. You want to be the best way of really watching your weight and being the healthiest you could be. Don't go blind on reading your labels. Like, if it's got a label, you must read it, right? The healthiest food don't have labels, right? Just kind of remember that. The healthiest food that you can eat doesn't own a label, right? Yeah, they might have to put it in a bag and put a label on if it's a bunch of almonds, right? Because they're, you know, not going to have it like that. But yeah, ask them. You know, this is another thing. I had one of my daughter's boyfriends worked at a Wegmans, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this butcher. So just be really careful. Like, watch them to grind it for you, you know, just if it doesn't, you get it home and it doesn't smell right, don't eat it, you know, go return it, wrap it up and return it, right? Just be, I don't want to say don't be trusting, but don't be trusting, you know, use your own common sense. We always want to buy grass fed. They can still have antibiotics and hormones. However, you're going to get a better omega-3 fatty acid profile, which means less inflammation for you, less heart disease, right? Less dementia, all of those things. And be aware of organic meats that are not USDA graded. That's important, okay? And then when we eat meat that's been with antibiotics, it disrupts the microbiome. Okay, so I don't really like that part. I don't know why I am. It's counterproductive for the liver detox. I don't want to just forget you saw that. Yeah, use meat as a garnish, not as the main focus. That's a big one. Okay, so here I'm going to show you something. If you didn't see this,
it's a list released each year by the Environmental Working Group targeting the produce that contains the most pesticide. Here with more is Georgia Taylor, owner of Vitality Nutrition and Wellness Center in Lakewood. Thanks for being here. Georgia, tell us why this is so important and what produce is on the list.
Hi, Robin. So why is this important? Because when we eat high levels of pesticides, our bodies are not able to process them. So it causes endocrine disrupting, meaning disrupts our hormonal system, causing things like autoimmune conditions and cancer and weight gain that we don't really want to have. So some of these things that are on the Dirty Dozen are strawberries and spinach and kale, nectarines and peaches, apples and grapes, pears, celery, and tomatoes.
All produce that we really consider healthy. So what can we do about it?
So how can we get around it? These particular Dirty Dozen foods we should consider buying organic or shopping locally at your local farmer's market, because the local produce is going to have less pesticides than the conventional that's traveling all across the world.
It's really alarming. I know strawberries have been at the top of the list for such a long time, and I love strawberries. Would it help to wash them well and try to wash the pesticides off?
You're not going to be able to wash them off. Of course, it's best to get as many toxins as you can off, but you're not going to get what you need off.
So bottom line, try to buy organic if you are buying something from the Dirty Dozen. But there's also a list called the Clean 15 with better options. What's some of the produce on that list?
So the Clean 15 are things with a harder shell, like an avocado or a banana or pineapple or a melon. Those are some of the ones that are on the Clean 15 list.
If we want the full list and we would like to read more about this, where can we learn more?
So you can go to ewg.org.
And that stands for Environmental Working Group, ewg.org. Great information, something we all should know. Thanks for being with us. Georgia Saylor, registered dietitian nutritionist and owner of Vitality Nutrition and Wellness Center in Linwood. And you are living well on like 96.9 WFPD.
You actually had corn up there?
huh?
You actually had corn as something healthy on the good list?
Yes.
My gosh, she really doesn't like me.
Stop.
Oh my goodness.
Corn is on the
good
clean. However, it's GMO. So you got to knock that off. Sip. Yeah, so that could be a genetically modified food. So even though it's on the clean, we want to, we want to check that out.
The Dirty Dozen is a list released each year by the Environmental Working Group targeting the
Okay, so GMOs, this is good time to talk about that. So GMOs are basically, they have been genetically modified. They're basically taking a plant and a bacteria and using a gun into there and literally changing the genetics. The problem with them are, it's like almost like two organizations. They're patenting seeds that we are proven not to be safe. There's many scientists that have lost their jobs at big universities with these things because they're testing and they're finding it's hurting the pancreases and causing cancer and endless problems, but yet we continue to do this. And we've basically, they've been put into our food supply since 1996. So now 70 to 80% of the foods, probably higher at this point, are genetically modified. And so what is this causing? Nowadays, you probably hear more people are having food allergies. There's more autism. There's just more cancer in the world. And they basically put these foods out, these GMOs out into the world before there was a lot of studies being done. So basically we are the study. And like when I say corn, like Kim brought out corn healthy, right? There's not a lot of nutrition in corn to begin with, right? However, not only that, but if it's genetic, that is one of the foods that's highly a genetically modified food. Canola oil is another one. And soy is another one. Those are like the main ones. And nowadays, of course, there's more and more coming out, but we really, like, if you can, minimize your ability of those. If you're noticing, oh, I've eaten a lot of not GMO corn this week, cut down on it. Some people are very sensitive to it. Some people are not. Some people's genetics handle it quite well. But once again, the more we say, yeah, I'll eat whatever you give me, that's what they give us. But if we say, no, I'm not going to eat that, don't give me corn, the good Silver Queen corn, right? Like the that was hybridized, but it wasn't have the BT in it. That's going to mess up my own microbiome. That's kind of where, and the other thing that happens is it's throwing off the whole cycle, right? It's taking corn in the fields, right? And what they're saying is it keeps pests away, but there's so many pests that are like becoming resistant that we have stronger and stronger pests, and like it's not good for us. So basically not good for the environment, not good for us. And the other one that is a lot of GMO is the sugar beets too. So, and we do have this stuff. I didn't think we had it in New Jersey, but we have a lot of GMO corn and sugar beets and even soy grown in South Jersey here. And so we find GMOs pretty much everywhere, but those are the main things that we just talked about: corn, soy, canola. So I have been bad at this today. Clean up your water filter, a whole house carbon filter, reverse osmosis, expensive, but the best way to go. Avoid those water filters because of their plastic containers. Don't drink hot beverages in plastic cups. Don't heat up things in plastic in the microwave. Just be thoughtful. Does this make sense? Am I leaching? And then I'm going to be eating this. There's a really good on EWG, you can go and find out what's in your own water. There's a thing, and like I said, you're going to get the link to that as well. That's coming.
So where does the whole house carbon filter go? On the water heater? Like where's that?
Yeah, if you have like a well at wherever the main water place coming into. And it's an investment, super big deal. So desire today's lesson is to pursue a healthier life, finding something that you found useful about what we learned about today and just taking action. Don't feel bad about something that you might not have known. Just start to make changes. Some of it might be like, hey, like Kim said, yeah, next year I might change my pans, but not necessarily, because if you look at the pans, they could be a few $100s, right? Like it's not that easy. Maybe you buy one at a time, or but be the change in how you live. Be a model for others. Know that no one and no diet is perfect. Small changes will get you big results. Oh, these are just a couple. Misfits Market. I use Misfits almost weekly. I get the food delivered to my house. It's generally really good. And if there's a product that isn't, I don't even have to call somebody. I just go on my computer and I just type in bad, this wasn't a good product, and they refund me without any question. So I love that. It's like a wonderful thing. Grove I love as well. You know, I get some really good cleaning products, comes right to my house. So I love that as well. Like I even get like cleaning stuff that comes in teeny little plastic bottles, and I have a glass bottle and I just add water to it. So there's different, you know, you'll find different things. They have so much now. It's a big company now. So yeah, so our next meeting is next week, and that's a good, making pizza food. It's a good topic as well.
What's the topic next week?
Making pizza food.
Oh, I thought you said making pizza food.
Oh,
like
no.
Pizza. Sorry.
Pizza food.
Pizza food.
So anybody have any comments about tonight or questions?
No.
All right, so then I just want to hear from everybody. What's one little thing that you think you're going to take as a action?
I have a comment. I'm sorry. I enjoyed like hearing this again and again, because like once
You know, say that but they say that we could learn something, but it could be really important stuff, but within 2 years, if we don't relearn it, it kind of dissolves out of our consciousness, like it's important. And you're saying about 1 year. That's interesting.
Yes, I need this
Repetition.
I mean, I did the pots right away, maybe because I needed new ones anyway or something.
So what I need to get, because that additive one was missing, I need to get you that. I'm going to give you that handout and then the EWG links. So you'll have those 3 things will come the next couple of days. Okay, so Joan, what is one of the things you're going to work on?
I'm going to try using that mytoxin.
Okay.
For me and my dad, to see.
All right, I'm going to put you in here, and I'm going to go get that computer for that. Be right back, guys.
Like that, you can put in different medications and stuff. I don't really take many, but my dad does, so
yeah,
I'll use him as the subject. So because I might need to.
I definitely need to.
Take more medicine.
It's MyTavin. My MyTavin.
Tavin. You should write that down too.
Yeah, like put it in your notepad, and then put it as like medication deficiencies or something like that. Nutrient depletion, something like that, so you can find it. That way you'll always be able to figure out like, hey, what is this taking away from me? All right, Hope, can you go? What is one of the things that you're gonna take action on today?
Yeah, that was definitely the new thing that I heard, just to think about is looking up the medications, figuring out what it's depleting, and some of the other effects that you don't think about. So that's definitely something I'm going to do.
That's great. Chris.
I'm going to try to use less plastic. We've been trying to do that, but we'll use some plastic. The filtered plastic pitcher, I didn't even think of that. I'm thinking, oh, it's better than using the individual water bottles, but it's kind of the same, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then as you do it, you're like, oh, and then I could do this, and then I could do this, right? But we got to start somewhere, right? But it all starts with just making a decision that, oh, I'm going to be a little bit later on this planet, and I'm going to minimize the effects of all these, I don't know what you want to call them, toxins. What about you, Kim?
Santo is going to learn that the water bottles in his back seat have got to go.
Good.
Yeah.
Like 20 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Good.
freeze in the winter.
I didn't know. Yeah. He
Mm.
got in the car on Saturday and nothing's frozen.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunately, like if we did do a little Google search, we'd learn a lot more, and I could make it
It's
a
gonna
lot
scare the
scarier.
shit out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I had to grab this one on the run. I keep them for like emergency uses. I normally refill stainless steel one, but I was in the middle of stuff. I'm like, I gotta run. I don't want to be late, and I just grab one of these. So, but I feel comfortable that I don't do it often.
Yeah,
Just a
because
little defensiveness
eventually,
going on here.
yeah, but eventually you get like that. You almost feel guilty. I'm
Yeah, I
drinking
get a little guilty. Yeah.
water. Oh my gosh, I have a water bottle. I don't normally do this, right? Yeah. All right. Well, I hope tonight was helpful. We'll put the recording up if you wanted to read it again or listen or share. And then other than that, we'll see you next week. And once again, yoga will be, if anybody's up, for 6:15 in the morning on Friday. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hope we'll see you Friday night.
Absolutely.
Okay.
See you Friday night.
Night to shine.
See you. Yeah. I'm so
Bye.
excited. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, gals.